I skipped the biggest meeting of my career just to surprise her with lunch. But when I arrived, she was already sharing the same meal with another man. Before watching the video, please tell us in the comments, which country are you watching from? My name is Ethan Parker, and I am 34 years old. This is the story of how one surprise lunch revealed the truth about the woman I loved, and how betrayal became the fuel that rebuilt my life. When I met Lily, I was convinced I'd found something rare, a love that felt unshakable. She had a smile that softened every bad day, and a voice that could pull me back from exhaustion. I wasn't rich or flashy, but I gave her everything I could. Every late night I worked, every small success I earned, I shared with her. She once told me, "You make me feel safe." Those words built my entire world. Lily was ambitious. She worked as a marketing assistant, always talking about growing, achieving more, building something of her own one day. I admired that fire in her. I wanted her to succeed. When she stayed late at work or missed dinners, I didn't question it. I told myself that hard work runs in both our veins. On weekends, she'd fall asleep on the couch beside me, laptop open, phone buzzing with client messages. I'd cover her with a blanket, smile, and tell myself this is what love looks like: sacrifice, understanding, and trust. But sometimes, when her phone buzzed late at night, she'd grab it faster than I could blink. "It's work," she'd say, "always work." Still, I never doubted her. When you love someone deeply, you trust even when your instincts whisper otherwise. You convince yourself that loyalty can't coexist with lies until it does. The truth is, I was happy being the man behind her dreams. I brought her coffee every morning, packed her lunch, sent her good luck texts before presentations. My life revolved around making hers easier. If someone had told me then that my kindness would one day expose me to the cruelest truth, I would have laughed. Because when you're in love, betrayal doesn't exist in your world until it tears it apart. I didn't know it yet. But every time I said, "Take care at work," I was sending her straight into another man's arms. It started with small things, the kind that don't hurt at first, but build slowly until they feel impossible to ignore. Lily began changing in ways I couldn't explain. The woman who once spent lazy Sundays in sweats and messy hair, now dressed like every day, was an event. "I just want to look professional," she'd say with a smile. But that smile didn't reach her eyes anymore. Her phone became her new best friend. It was always in her hand, or tucked face down beside her. She laughed at texts she wouldn't let me see, and kept her notifications on silent. Once, I walked into the kitchen and saw her quickly switch screens. "Just a work meme," she said too quickly. I laughed it off, but something in my chest twisted. I tried to be rational. I told myself people change, relationships evolve, and maybe she was just stressed. But when love turns one-sided, you start noticing details, like how her perfume lingered stronger when she said she worked late, or how she started wearing lipstick just to run errands. The distance grew, one excuse at a time. Dinners became takeout boxes, eaten alone. Conversations turned short, practical, emotionless. I asked once, "Is everything okay?" She looked at me like the question offended her. "You always overthink," she said sharply. "Not everything is about you." That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering when love started feeling like suspicion. I hated myself for doubting her. I hated how every late meeting started sounding like an echo of betrayal I couldn't prove. Then came the moment that changed everything. One morning, she mentioned a new coworker named Aaron. She said he was a great guy, smart, funny, really helps with projects. She spoke about him like she used to talk about me. I smiled, pretending it didn't bother me, but my hands clenched under the table. Weeks passed, and her stories always included him. Aaron said this. Aaron helped with that. I told myself not to be jealous, but deep down, I already knew. You can feel when someone's attention has left you. It's in the way they stop looking at you the same. Stop asking how your day was. Stop caring about the small things. I told myself I'd stop overthinking. That's when I decided to surprise her, to remind her what love looked like. A small gesture, a kind one. Maybe that's all we needed. I didn't know that my surprise would reveal everything, that I'd walk into her world and find she'd already replaced me in it. That morning started like any other. I woke up early, made her coffee, and kissed her forehead before she rushed out the door. She smiled faintly, distracted, her eyes glued to her phone as she mumbled a quick goodbye. I stood there watching her leave, realizing how far away she already felt, even when she was only a few feet from me. At work, I couldn't shake the thought that maybe we'd just lost our spark. Maybe what we needed wasn't confrontation, but connection. Something simple to remind her that love still lived between us. That's when the idea hit me. I'd surprise her at lunch. Nothing dramatic, just something small to make her smile again. I remembered how she loved the pasta from her favorite cafe. Creamy, cheesy, with extra basil. It was where we had our first real date, where she told me she felt safe with me. I thought maybe revisiting that moment would help us find our way back. So I left the office early, stopped by the cafe, and ordered her favorite meal, right down to the iced coffee with almond milk she adored. I even asked them to wrap it neatly with a note that read, "Thought you might be hungry. Love you always." Driving toward her office, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. My heart raced with anticipation, picturing her surprised face, her laughter when she saw me standing there with lunch in my hands. I imagined her hugging me, saying, "You're too sweet." I thought maybe that small act could erase the distance growing between us. The closer I got, the more nervous I became. I checked my hair in the mirror, made sure the food was still warm, and took a deep breath before parking outside her building. Her office sat in a sleek glass tower downtown, modern, cold, but somehow fitting for the version of her she'd become lately. As I walked toward the entrance, I noticed something odd. Her car wasn't in its usual spot. Maybe she parked somewhere else, I told myself. I carried the food carefully, balancing the drink in one hand, trying to stay positive. Inside, the receptionist smiled politely when I asked for Lily. "Oh, she's out for lunch," she said. My heart sank a little, but I forced a grin. "Oh, okay. Did she say where?" The receptionist shrugged. "I think she went to the cafe down the street. She goes there a lot lately." I almost laughed at the irony. The same cafe I had just come from, the same one I was about to walk back to, still believing this story would end with a smile. I didn't know that what I was walking toward wasn't a moment of love. It was the moment my entire world would collapse. What would you do if someone you loved betrayed you like this? Comment below. The cafe doors chimed softly as I walked in, carrying the bag of food that now felt heavier than it should. The smell of coffee and baked bread filled the air, warm and familiar. I scanned the room, smiling faintly as my eyes searched for her face among the tables. And then I saw her, sitting by the window. For a brief second I felt relief. She was there. My surprise had worked, but then my heart froze, because she wasn't alone. Across from her sat a man, sharp suit, perfect hair, easy smile. Aaron. I recognized him instantly from the photos she'd shown me weeks earlier. They were leaning close, faces inches apart, laughing at something I couldn't hear. She reached across the table, brushing his wrist, her eyes glowing with a softness I hadn't seen in months. And there it was, 2 plates of pasta, the same order I had brought, the same meal she said she only loved when I bought it. My hand started shaking. The bag crinkled, the iced coffee inside tipping over slightly. She looked up for just a moment, but not at me. She was lost in him, completely, utterly his in that moment. I wanted to walk over, to throw the food on the table and demand an explanation, but my feet wouldn't move. My chest tightened, every heartbeat echoing like thunder. Instead, I stepped back, hiding behind the doorway as my world quietly crumbled. I watched her laugh, twirling pasta on her fork, her smile wide and unguarded, the same smile I once lived for. Every gesture she made, every word she spoke, was something I used to have memorized. But now, it belonged to someone else. I stood there for what felt like hours, though it couldn't have been more than a few minutes. My hands clenched so tightly around the lunch bag that the drink spilled onto the floor. The cold liquid spread slowly, unnoticed by anyone but me. The staff called out for the next customer, snapping me out of my trance. I turned and walked out, leaving the lunch, her favorite, on the nearest table. Outside, the sunlight felt harsh, too bright, almost mocking. I sat in my car, staring at nothing, my heart pounding in my ears. It's strange how betrayal doesn't always come with noise. Sometimes it's silent, a slow collapse inside your chest, while the world goes on around you, completely unaware. I drove home without turning on the radio. The bag on the passenger seat was gone, but the smell of the food lingered, reminding me of what I'd just lost. That night, I didn't confront her. I couldn't. I needed to breathe, to think, to let the anger settle into something colder, something I could control. Because that's when I realized love wasn't the only thing I was capable of giving her. I was capable of ending her lies, too. When Lily came home that night, I was sitting on the couch, lights dimmed, the quiet air thick enough to choke on. She walked in humming, carrying the same purse she'd placed on that cafe table. I didn't say a word at first. I just watched her. She froze when she saw me. A flicker of guilt flashed across her face before she replaced it with a practiced smile. "Hey," she said softly. setting her purse down. "You're home early." I didn't answer. I stared at the spot of sauce on her sleeve, the same kind the cafe used for their pasta. My voice came out calm, almost cold. "Did you have a good lunch?" She blinked, startled. "Yeah, just grabbed something with coworkers." "Why?" I smiled slightly. "With Aaron, right?" Her body tensed instantly. The color drained from her face. What are you talking about?" she stammered. That's when I realized something. Liars never sound surprised about what they're accused of. They sound afraid of how much you already know. "I stopped by your office," I said. "Thought I'd bring your favorite pasta, but you'd already beaten me to it." I paused, letting the words settle like slow poison. "With him?" Her eyes darted away. "Jake, it's not what you think. We were just discussing a project." "A project?" I repeated. "He was feeding you fries, Lily." She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, studying her. "You can lie, or you can tell me the truth, but either way, this ends tonight." Her expression hardened. The guilt vanished, replaced by anger. "You're overreacting. You always twist everything. I can't even have lunch with a friend without you jumping to conclusions." There it was. The blame shift, the emotional deflection. She wasn't sorry. She was scared of being caught. "Then why did you lie?" I asked. "Why tell me you were eating alone?" She hesitated, her voice cracking. "Because you'd never understand. You're always busy, always working. And I needed someone to talk to." I felt the heat rise in my chest, but I kept my tone steady. "So, you found comfort in another man's hands?" She looked away, tears falling. But they felt rehearsed, the kind she knew might soften me. "It didn't mean anything," she whispered. "That's the thing," I said quietly. "It meant everything." The silence stretched between us, long and sharp. I stood up, picked up my keys, and headed for the door. "I'm going for a drive," I said. "You should think about what you've really broken." Behind me, she whispered, "Please don't leave." But her voice was too late, too hollow, too familiar. That night, as the wind rushed through my open window, I made myself a promise. I wouldn't scream, I wouldn't beg, I wouldn't cry. My revenge would be built in silence, slow, calm, and undeniable. The next morning, I didn't wake up broken. I woke up focused. The sadness that had eaten me alive the night before was gone, replaced by something sharper, colder, and far more dangerous: clarity. Lily moved around the house, pretending nothing had happened, humming as she made coffee, tapping on her phone with that same fake smile. Every glance, every word, every breath she took was an act. She thought I would either explode or beg. She didn't expect silence, and that silence became my weapon. I started observing, quietly collecting everything she tried to hide. I checked our shared bank account. There were restaurant transactions that didn't match her supposed work nights, expensive wine, fancy dinners, even a hotel charge under her name 2 towns over. I took screenshots, printed receipts, and organized every detail like pieces of a puzzle. At work, I stayed late, but not for my job, for my plan. I searched for ways to protect myself, financially and emotionally. I called my lawyer friend, pretending it was for a client, asking about joint assets and lease transfers. By the end of that week, I knew exactly what I needed to do when the time came. One night, she came home later than usual. Her hair was messy, her lipstick faded, her perfume stronger than usual. "Rough day?" I asked casually. She laughed nervously. "You could say that." Then she kissed my cheek, the same cheek she'd burned with lies, and went straight to the shower. While the water ran, I checked her phone. Password changed. Typical. But she forgot one thing: the cloud backup. I synced her messages to my laptop using our shared account from months earlier. And there it was. Dozens of texts between her and Aaron. "I wish I could see you tonight. He's still awake. Can't talk. You make me feel alive, not trapped." Trapped. That word hit me hardest. I had given her freedom, comfort, and love. She called it a cage. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I simply saved everything. Every message, every photo, every receipt. I knew I couldn't just end things. I had to make sure she felt what I did. She had built a secret life. I was about to make it collapse on her. The next morning, I smiled when she kissed me goodbye. She thought the storm had passed. She didn't realize I was already pulling the ground from under her feet. She played her game with charm and deception. But I had something stronger: patience and proof. Soon, she wouldn't just lose me. She'd lose the perfect image she'd built. Because when love turns to strategy, the truth becomes your greatest weapon. If you were in my place, would you forgive or walk away? Tell me in comment. The night of her birthday dinner felt ordinary. Candlelight and polite laughter. I arrived early, carrying a small slideshow on a flash drive. Friends mingled and congratulated her while glasses chimed across tables. She wore the same dress from that cafe, flawless and glowing. Before dessert, I asked for permission to share a few photos. Everyone leaned in, expecting a sweet memory reel of our years. I plugged the flash drive, and the screen lit with familiar smiles. The slideshow began like any other, beach trips and silly selfies. Then came a transition, lunches, coffee dates, messages with timestamps. Photos appeared of Lily laughing with Aaron, phone screens showing secret texts. Receipts flashed next, restaurant bills, hotel invoices, late-night tabs. A hush spread across the room like cold water poured slowly. Her friend's smiles froze, eyes shifting from celebration to confusion. I watched her face change, color draining under the candlelight. She stood abruptly, stumbling over words she had prepared in advance. It was private. It didn't mean anything, she finally gasped out. Her voice sounded small, swallowed by the room's sudden silence. People shifted awkwardly, whispers fluttering like frightened birds around candles. Her sister cried, covering her mouth with shaking hands, and betrayal. Her mother's face turned ashen, disappointment carving lines deeper than years. A co-worker whispered to another, asking if our accusations were true. I didn't shout or throw blame. My voice stayed calm and steady. Calm felt like a stronger weapon than any angry outburst could. I clicked to the next slide, showing timestamps matching her alibis exactly. There was no dramatic music, only the cold honesty of pixels. Her co-workers stared, mouths open, as proof replaced polite doubt. Someone reached for their phone, calling HR with a trembling hand. Some of Aaron's friends in the crowd recoiled, their chatter dying instantly. Lily sank into her chair, face buried, hands over trembling knees. She begged for a chance to explain, voice breaking like thin ice, but her explanations tangled, contradicting photos and messages laid bare. Her manager stood slowly and announced an immediate internal investigation. Someone left the room to call her husband, voice quivering with shock. I watched quietly, feeling neither triumph nor glee, only an odd peace. Her betrayal had been brutal, but the quiet truth felt like justice. Some guests avoided eye contact, uncomfortable witnessing a life unfold publicly. Her closest friend hurled a stunned question, asking why she lied. She mumbled about loneliness, excitement, the wrong man at the wrong time. The room felt colder as truth sank into every heart present. A few people quietly told me they always suspected something different. My silence had spoken louder than any public accusation could manage. When the evening ended, whispers followed her out into the night. I left alone, not because I wanted revenge, but to protect myself. Weeks passed after that night, and the noise finally faded. Whispers turned into silence, and Lily disappeared from everyone's conversation. People moved on. The world didn't stop for her downfall, or mine. But for me, peace came slowly, like morning light after a long storm. I spent my mornings alone now, not lonely but calm. The house no longer smelled of her perfume or sounded like arguments. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that doesn't ache anymore. I started rebuilding, piece by piece, learning who I was without her. At first, I thought revenge would feel satisfying, like closure, but it didn't. It just cleared space for something deeper, understanding. I realized revenge wasn't about destroying someone else. It was about finally choosing yourself over someone who never did. One afternoon, I walked into that same cafe again, the same smell of roasted coffee, the same hum of laughter. I sat by the window where I'd once seen her betray me. Only this time, there was no pain, just a faint smile. I ordered her favorite pasta, not for nostalgia, but for closure, for taking back what was mine. The first bite tasted different, not bitter, not sweet, just peaceful. It wasn't her meal anymore. It was mine again. As I ate, I thought about everything she'd taken. Trust, time, faith. But I also thought about what I'd regained. Freedom, clarity, self-respect. Sometimes, losing someone isn't a tragedy. It's a rescue you didn't expect. A few weeks later, I heard she'd quit her job. Apparently, Aaron had left the company, and with him, her confidence. Someone told me she'd tried reaching out to me again, but I didn't reply. Not out of anger, out of peace. Forgiveness isn't about letting someone back in. It's about letting them go without bitterness holding you back. And that's exactly what I did. That day, as I finished my lunch and stepped outside, the sunlight felt warmer, the air lighter. I walked away from that cafe for the last time, knowing I didn't need revenge anymore. I'd already won. Winning wasn't proving her wrong. It was proving that her betrayal didn't define my worth. And for the first time in a long while, I was free. This is how my girlfriend betrayed me. Should I forgive or move on? Tell me in comments. If this story made you feel something real, hit like, share it with someone who needs strength today, and subscribe for more stories that remind you healing is the best revenge.